Today, prosecutors released thousands of documents that include text messages, cell phone records, and several photos.
We do have team coverage of this big story. West 2's Bob Keeling focuses on a key player mentioned in today's documents, Casey's boyfriend, Tony Lazzaro. But we start with West 2's Amanda Ober and the avalanche of evidence released just today. Amanda?
These documents, all 1,100 pages, include reports from various police agencies. They provide some new insight into the investigation, ranging from tips that turned into dead ends to a wiretap involving Casey's ex. The new documents show that Casey Anthony's boyfriend, Tony Lazzaro, went undercover for the sheriff's office early in the investigation and wore a wiretap during a meeting he had with Casey's brother Lee. They also contain black and white copies of pictures posted by Casey on the website photobucket.com around the time Kaylee went missing. These are the same photos Casey's attorney has been fighting to keep private. They include photos of Casey appearing happy with friends, clip art of skulls, and there's one posting that reads, "I've been through a lot this year, but I'm going to hold my head up like my nose is bleeding." In an interview with James Hoover, one of the Anthony family's private investigators, Hoover says on the day Kaylee's remains were found, George Anthony had made comments to him about problems in his marriage to Cindy. Hoover also said during the Anthony stay at the Ritz-Carlton in the following days, he was uncomfortable with the intimate relationship developing between Cindy Anthony and another private investigator, Dominic Casey. Hoover described the two of them as holding hands and running their hands up and down each other's arms in view of George. And the documents reveal investigators went all over the state to follow up on possible sightings of Kaylee. Their stops ranged from a church in Lakeland to a dumpster in Boynton Beach, where a tipster had reported a foul odor. Now, investigators even went as far south as Miami after one tipster told them Casey had been involved in a prostitution ring and had left Kaylee with another prostitute. Needless to say, that turned out to be a dead end. Now, coming up on West 2 News at 5, I'll tell you about some possible new evidence in these documents that could help prove Zanny the nanny never existed. Live in the newsroom, Amanda Ober, West 2 News.
More right now on the man who was closest to Casey while her daughter was missing. Tony Lazzaro has resurfaced in these documents in a big way. Lazzaro agreed to have his phone tapped and wear a wire during a meeting with Lee Anthony. But that's not all. West 2's Bob Keeling continues her team coverage of this big story. And Bob, why all of this secret recording?
Well, Martha, Tony Lazzaro has been working with investigators who've been trying to find a smoking gun. Now, in these documents, while there are more tantalizing details about Casey, the smoking gun is not here. Tony, do you think Casey is capable of hurting Kaylee? One morning, Tony Lazzaro told investigators he awoke to find Casey Anthony watching on a laptop the last known video of Kaylee. Casey was crying. It's important because this was the period before Casey had told anyone her daughter was even missing. Also, Lazzaro talked about the 2 times Casey ran out of gas in the same critical week. June 23rd, about a week after investigators believe Kaylee died, Lazzaro delivered a pair of gas cans to Casey along the road, not far from her home. Lazzaro told investigators there was no stench coming from Casey's car, and he was not able to see the bottom of the trunk to know if Kaylee's body could have been inside. Also, Lazzaro provided new details about picking Casey up at the Amscot just 4 days later. It was June 27th, and she'd run out of gas again. He told investigators Casey jumped into his car, and he never got out. 3 days later, Amscot employees had Casey's car towed away. For the first time, we've learned that Lazzaro consented to have his phone tapped and wear a wire during a late July meeting with Lee Anthony. In their taped conversation, Lee acknowledged never having seen or met a babysitter named Zenaida or Zanny. But there was nothing to indicate Casey had made any admissions to Lee about Kaylee's disappearance.